Okay, so when you are 40 miles away and you're trying to get everything to work right, and I get it, you want to go back in and do all that fun stuff that we've talked about. The idea, even if you farm, let's say you're fortunate enough to farm 10 square miles, right? Say you're a big operator, you got however many acres that would be, you 64,000 acres or whatever that would be at that point. But if you farm that and it's your area and you're within 10 miles of where you're at, you still need to have more support equipment than you think you will because of time to load, time to unload of the truck coming out of the grain. So where do baggers and unbaggers, grain baggers, start playing a point in this scenario when you start talking about combines?
The short answer for that is wherever they want, as long as they're never traded in.
Ever. I think you're going to see more and more of that.
Yeah.
At the end of the field, dumping it and then coming back and picking it up after you're done with harvest.
Yeah, I get that.
From logistics. Because then all of a sudden, now you don't have...
You don't have any trucks.
Don't have any trucks. And so, you have trucks, but you don't need them during harvest.
Right. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Obviously, you have trucks. I mean, at harvest, you don't need any trucks.
Right.
You got an X9, and you got...
Well, even a 780, or a 790, or a...
9650.
9650, whatever.
6600.
105.
105 corn special.
Whatever you want.
I am really proud of you that you knew 105. Great job. I can see that because I know where I grew up, southeast, south central Nebraska, any chance you can to cart to the bin, everybody does it as much as possible. I have been part of an operation where we carted to the bin 4 miles. And
how many miles did you say?
4.
4, okay. I thought you said 40. I was like, what?
No, that'd be a long trip.
Right.
And it is the absolute peak of efficiency.
Right.
You're just go. I mean, you could knock shit out like you can't believe.
Right.
The bag would be that every field is carting to the bin. So you're at peak efficiencies. Mm-hmm. The trouble is, harvest is one phase of the whole year.
Right.
Okay? So then you got all winter to fight them bags and get shit out of the bags and do all that. And there's guys that are diehard grain baggers, and I'm not trying to talk down on anybody because I have never unloaded a grain bag. I can't believe it's any worse than running a frickin' sweep auger, which usually happens in the summer. So maybe you're right. Maybe. Don't get carried away. But maybe you're right, and that becomes hotter and hotter. Just for pure efficiencies.
Right. I think the grain bagger plays a great role in this scenario as operations get more spread out. When you're getting further away from your on-farm storage or elevator storage or whatever it is that you're doing, plus when you start looking at your marketing plan, I mean...
That's why there are guys, I know guys in different parts of the world actually do this, okay? And this is based off of a pivot. So the guys in Illinois that have a 300-acre field of black dirt, I don't know what to tell them at this point. This goes off of a pivot. If you know, I know plenty of guys that have done this. You got your standard 135-acre circle, right? In a square 160-acre field, a quarter. And you take that pivot at what you hope to someday achieve for bushels on that pivot, and you put a grain bin in the corner.
Okay.
Yeah, grain bins aren't cheap, but they take very little time to pay for themselves.
Right.
In all reality.
Yeah.
And it don't have to be anything special. You don't have to have stirrator and dryer and all that kind of shit. I mean, it's just a storage
bin. It's just a holding bin.
Right.
Yep. That makes sense.
I know guys that have done that, and that's, then you're carting to the bin, and you're not, a deer can go rub up on that bin all he wants. He's not going to
rip a hole.
He's not going to rip a hole in the bin. If he does, I would like to tag him and find him later, because that's going to be pretty badass.
That's going to be a rather large
His antlers look like a can opener.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. So
I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. There's all kinds of different things for efficiency. And if you get in the right scenario, the right crop, the right day, the right time, all that kind of stuff, I can see one X9 instead of two 8s.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think that's working in a vacuum.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right. Most of the time you're going to be, but it all comes down to labor.
Right.
You know?
And that's kind of the point of this deal here is as you take a look at
You're getting rid of labor, and labor is the number one issue usually.
Yep. I mean, along with all the fun things that come along with that, technology exists because labor restrictions are getting less and less, right? They're getting to be less and less people to come back to the farm and work.
Right.
There's getting to be less and less just overall just trying to find any labor. I think if we did a poll on here, like what's your biggest concern as a operator, it's probably commodity prices, and then labor is probably the second one, would be my guess.
Yeah.
And then probably something to do with succession planning and those kind of things.
You know, speaking of that labor thing, there are guys out there who haven't driven a tractor in 15 years. That just popped in my head as you mentioned technology and the labor, and guy don't have to drive a tractor straight anymore. You don't even have to drive it. Here, sit this and watch the buzzers and the sensors.
Right. Yeah. Another thing too is there's more and more guys out there that are, as operations grow and things happen, that the guy actually stroking the check's not even
Right.
in the tractor,
Right.
It's hired hand, whatever it might be, and they're as for a sales guy, your best sales pitch anymore is not necessarily to the guy writing the check. It's you want the guy driving the tractor that likes the creature features of it and the comfort or the refrigerator or whatever it is.
Yep.
Gotta get that refrigerator.
You pick the right guy in the middle.
Yeah.
And get with him
Right.
because odds are he is been there long enough, is
Yeah.
trusted enough, whatever. He's
a great influencer.
Yeah. He's got as much say so. Yeah. He has the say so. The other guy writes a check.
Right.
Typically. Not always.
Yep. And most
because I know other huge farms where everything's power shift 1300.
Right.
Because the guy writing the check is a doctor, a lawyer. He don't even see the shit.
Right.
And boom, oh, it's a tractor. Good enough.
Yeah.
Done.
Yep. So then on the flip side of that, the other people that may not be driving, they're looking at the efficiencies and how fast they can, like you said, go from point A to point B and get everything done before Snowmageddon hits.
Right.
And that's sometimes you can do that. But back to like your 3 combine thing, if you had those out working in 3 different fields, you can pull all 3 of those together and go knock out with the area that's going to be affected by the storm, right? If you're that spread out, right? And start looking at how those logistics start to play into all that.
Yeah. I still, and you can do that. I mean, hell, you can put all 3 in a pivot corner if you want to have a demo derby. But I still think you're more efficient spread out.
Oh, I agree. But if you're in an area like where we're at, where pivot irrigation is a big thing,
right?
And you've got, an area that's got 10 or 15 pivots, and those 10 or 15 pivots are going to be, affected by looking at the forecast by a snowstorm or whatever else.
And
but
the other
100
aren't.
Yeah. Those
I get it.
You take those 3 and you go knock out those
right.
in a day. Not a day, but a few days worth of work. You got those knocked out.
Right.
And then that's where your grain bagger comes in, and you bag them at the end of the field or whatever it is, and kind of go from there.
That's true. At least we're not in the carpet business.
That's right.
Don't want to deal with any carpet baggers.
That's right.
Just grain baggers.
Just grain baggers. That's right.
But
good one. Take that act on the road.
Hey, real quick, just because everybody's out there, because you haven't brought it up yet, and I'm very disappointed.
What?
Before we started recording, and we were talking a little bit about the X9 and the 3 versus 1, and keep an extra. Casey's comment was, "We'll keep an extra 680, and then you can use it to open up the fields."
Yeah, open them up. It's like a bigger version of a. But as cheap as they've gotten,
yeah, Yeah, that's a pleasant thought.
Yeah. So,
We'd bring that up toward the end of the podcast.
right.
Yep.
Pop everyone's balloon at the end.
Right.
That's what I always say. All right, man. Good stuff as usual, Aaron. People want to reach out to you. What's the best way to do that?
Fairly active on the Twitterverse at Aaron Fintel. Probably that's where a lot of guys reach out to me at. Or my telephone number is 308-760-1193, and you can call me or text me on that anytime.
Right on. And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. Also check out movingironllc.com for all the latest news concerning Moving Iron. And on that note, I have had to cancel the Moving Iron podcast that was coming, or Moving Iron podcast, the Moving Iron Summit that was coming up here September 1 through 3 in Nashville due to the COVID-19 stuff. And I've got that rescheduled for January of 21. Dates are the 20th through the 22nd. Same hotel, same information. I probably have to get a new link and stuff, but check that out. I'll have that up here this weekend on my website, so you can look at that stuff and get re-registered. And I'm gonna throw this out there that anybody that's a dealer that wants to come to that, irregardless of manufacturer or whatever it might be, hit me up and let me know if you're interested in coming. Should be great information, a lot of good information out there that comes. So let me know if you'd like to come to that. Also, check out the Global Ag Network and the great podcasters on there as well. And some Moving Iron podcast news. I am going to move Moving Iron podcast markets to its own feed, so you should see that coming up here real soon. And as well as Moving Iron podcast tax news, Glenn Birnbaum will have its own feed. And I am going to also start a new podcast that has to do with kind of the inner workings of a dealership that'll have its own feed as well. So Moving Iron podcast will be what you've grown to know and love, talking about what's happening in the equipment world as well as auction markets and those kind of things. Have guests on from other areas. So looking forward to see how that works. So you should see about 4 different feeds of the Moving Iron podcast pop up. So looking forward to having that start here, hopefully the first part of September. Anyway. So with that, I am Casey Seymour with Aaron Fintel. Let's go move some iron, folks.